iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
Heidi Blickenstaff, welcome back to iHeartRadio Broadway.
Hi, how are you, SJ?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. I'm gearing up to start my Jagged Little Week.
And I just want to say, welcome back to Broadway. It's so great to have you back, especially in Jagged Little Pill. What has this experience been like so far for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's definitely been like nothing I've ever done before. I've played big parts. I played Diana in Next to Normal, and Freaky Friday actually was a huge transformation and a lot of time on stage. But I've never done anything quite like this that requires such not only a huge emotional deep dive, but just the sheer stamina of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really something else. And also to be coming out of a pandemic when, most of us were sitting on our couch for a year plus, to be shot out of a cannon into a role like this is, it's bonkers for sure, but I'm so grateful for every second of it.
And how did the collaboration, Elizabeth Stanley is on maternity leave right now, you're going to be sharing the role. How did the role of MJ come your way?
It's a very interesting story. P.S. Elizabeth comes back this Thursday and we'll be splitting the role. And I think it is such a amazing, unprecedented moment for Broadway moms to
Absolutely.
be doing something like this. And kudos to our producers for being willing to jump in this way. And I'm so excited to be sharing it with my friend Elizabeth. But the way I got involved was so many of our colleagues, SJ, I'm sure you too, so many of our colleagues silver lininged the pandemic and had babies. And Elizabeth and Charlie were a couple that decided to do that among many of my other good friends. And they had beautiful baby Solvi. And it became apparent that the reopening of Jagged Little Pill and Elizabeth being ready to jump back in, it wasn't going to line up perfectly. And I have I'm very close with Tom Kitt, the genius orchestrator of Jagged Little Pill. And he also has a Pulitzer for Next to Normal. He's a little talented. He's got more awards than anyone.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. He's a lovely friend to have. Anyway, Tom and I were talking, and then we both said maybe this would be a thing, and then he started talking to the high mucky mucks at Jagged, and Elizabeth was also really into the idea. And I think people's minds were very open because we have entered into this new normal since the pandemic, and so many shows have had to make interesting choices and changes because people are just coming back or not coming back. I have a lot of friends that just sort of like threw in the towel and moved away, because they didn't know if Broadway was going to be back. But Jagged Little Pill is back, and I was lucky enough to just be folded in at a really perfect time in my life. And it is all the more sweeter because Elizabeth and I are friends and we get to share this together.
And how did the collaboration work between the two of you? Because I don't want to say you're not doing everything Elizabeth is doing, and Elizabeth's not going to be doing everything that you're doing. So I'm curious how the collaboration works between the two of you, but also with direction as well.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to ask our company mates once they really start doing the flip-flop 4 and 4 a week that we'll be sharing. I think it's going to be the most challenging for them. And hats off to not only our producers, but to brilliant Diane Paulus for letting Elizabeth be Elizabeth and letting me be me. Of course, you're doing a Broadway show, so the blocking is the same, the cue pickups are the same, the lines are the same, like all of that is the same. But Elizabeth and I are truly we are very different creatures in life and consequently very different MJs. And I think that we have been encouraged to bring our differences to the role. And I think it's going to be very, for people that see one of us and love that performance, I think they're going to be very interested to see what somebody else's take will be. We hope fans of the show will want to see us both. But like it literally is, Elizabeth and I will talk to each other and just say, at this part, I have trouble during this part. How do you wrap your head around that? And what is fascinating is because we are friends and because I think we are not youngsters anymore. I think that we're not afraid to ask each other for what works for the other person. There's no threat there. We couldn't be more different. And I only want her to soar. And I feel she wants that for me. And so anything that the other one can do to say, maybe try this. Or I literally asked her how to land a joke the other day because I was like, I'm not getting this right. And I wonder if you're getting it. And she was like, I do this. And I was like, and then it worked, and I was like grateful for everything that she would be generous enough to give me. So it is a true collaboration.
And with the show, Jagged Little Pill does tackle a lot of issues that we still deal with today, obviously. You've mentioned in other interviews that this has also helped you a little bit in the healing process as well, being a part of the show. You've mentioned that you're a survivor of sexual abuse and a family member with opioid addiction. So if you don't mind me asking, being a part of the show, performing 8 times a week, has that healing process really helped you during Jagged Little Pill?
Yeah, for sure. It can't help not. I mean, it is like some crazy exposure therapy for sure. But I do truly believe that, when we face something, we become stronger. When we become honest about something, we can really look at what we have to deal with in our life and we have a better shot at getting past it, growing with it. And then the beautiful thing about theater is that when we do that in front of an audience, we think we're climbing our own mountain, but actually I cannot tell you how many people have written to me and said, me too, me too, me too. And so it is such a privilege to be able to have that ripple effect on an audience who is also feeling things like that. My family member he's a recovering alcoholic, so he wasn't addicted to opioids, but we certainly went through a lot of turmoil in my family for decades, and it is something that I know so many families struggle with, and obviously it's incredibly difficult to be the person who is the addict, but it's also very difficult for the people around that person, and diving into all of that. He has been incredibly generous. It's my brother, and he's been incredibly generous, letting me be open about his story. And he said something so lovely, which was, just make sure when you tell people tell them I'm in recovery, that there's a happy ending to the story. And he said, and if it helps one person, it's worth telling it's worth sharing. And he's not in theater, but that was such an artist point of view for him. And I just loved him for being open enough to share that and to let me share that. And so it's very cathartic every night. It's exhausting every night. My tears are very real and deeply rooted in my own life. But I also feel very privileged to share it.
And the fan response to not just your performance, but this show, to hear them be able to take on their own healing from being able to watch Jagged Little Pill, what does that mean to you as an artist?
I mean, it's the most beautiful byproduct of what we do. And haven't we missed it so much, not being able to be in the same space, watching theater together, because musicals can do so much. They can bring us joy. They can make us reflect. They can inspire us to create our own things. Like and I really feel like with Jagged Little Pill, because there are so many issues that the show explores, that I had a friend come see the show the other day, and she was like, no one is leaving that show unscathed.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is like, there's so much going on in that American family that I think it would be impossible to come out of that show feeling like, oh, there's nothing in there for me. At the very least, you're going to rock out to Alanis. But then there are all there is an amazing story that is so beautifully woven into that album in such a crazy successful way that I'm biased, of course, but like I feel like, as far as jukebox musicals go, I can't believe that this album existed completely separate from this story that we're telling. It feels so integrated. It feels like it always was meant to be told like this. And so I just feel I feel so lucky that I get to be the storyteller of this 4 times a week.
And speaking of Alanis, to be able to sing these songs, I mean, the score alone is one of the most challenging, I think, on Broadway today. But
Sure.
What's your personal history with Alanis? Were you a fan of her music prior to going into Jagged Little Pill?
Yeah, definitely. I think I was ripe for that album. I was just out of college and just in New York, and I was independent for the first real time in my life, and I remember listening to that album over and over again, and I was very shocked by her, because she was a young woman who was so in touch with her anger, and I was not. It took me such a long time to be able to touch down, and like decades, really. But that I remember listening to her just being so shocked and impressed that someone that young was so self-expressed. And what's crazy is that back then I loved her, but now I feel like now I'm really ready to sing this stuff. Now I have perspective on this, and I have found my voice as an artist, as a woman, as a human. And so to just like let it rip every night, it is imbued with history for me. But now it's like my roots are deep in the soil of this now, and I feel like I'm up to it. Like I'm up to, just like singing my face off every night, and doing my best to do her proud.
And speaking of singing their face off, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the rest of this cast. The cast that you get to work with on a nightly basis, they're ridiculously talented, between Morgan and Derek and Lauren and Sean.
Yeah.
What has the process been like of working with this company?
Like no other company I have ever worked with, in the greatest way. I mean, you always fall in love with each other, no matter what show you're doing, and you have an experience that is completely unique every time you make a new show. And it's one of the things that I think those of us that are theater nerds were so drawn to be a part of a theatrical family. And this group of people is, they are the most beautiful group of unicorns I have ever had the pleasure to make something with. They have been so generous to me, because I'm coming in, and I'm the new girl, and they have all with such generosity of spirit let me be me, and been incredibly flexible with how things are changing. And it really is like, it's such a privilege to be around such a talented group of young people. I don't know when I became not the young person, but somewhere that happened. Now I'm the mother of the young people. And these young artists are just the loveliest, most open-hearted, talented, smart people that I am growing closer with every single day. And there is a genuine, honest to God, there is a genuine love and we all take care of each other very much backstage, because what we do out there, I don't know that I've ever done a show where you really, really leave it all out there. Everyone is just giving every part of themselves. And that requires a certain fortitude to be able to do that. And support from your castmates. And this group is incredibly bonded, and it's my privilege to be among them.
Well, and just the stamina that you all need to do this show, 8 shows a week. I can't even imagine what the
Yeah.
process of being prepared to do this looks like. So
Yeah.
how do you get through an 8-show week?
I have an awesome husband. I'm literally doing nothing else in my life. And that's kind of how it goes when you're doing a Broadway show. I think those of us that are lucky enough to be living this dream, I think I have been prepared my whole life to do this and to sacrifice everything that I have needed to sacrifice to be able to do this. But this role in particular, because it is so vocally and emotionally and physically demanding, it really does require every moment that I'm not doing the show, I am resting to get ready for the next one, which is why I'm really glad Elizabeth is coming back. Because I feel like my body's going to be a little less sore. My voice is going to be a little less ragged, just because we'll be sharing the load. I can't imagine how she's going to do it with a newborn. You know, I will happily support her in any way that I possibly can through that. But it is truly like, my husband and I were talking this morning about the rest of my day today, because it's our first show back after a day off. And I have a very kind of, my process getting into it. Actors are generally called at half hour for shows. That's when you are like legally able to call us with just a half hour for us to get ready. But I could no sooner get ready for this show in a half hour. I need at least an hour to physically and mentally prepare. And it is a huge commitment. And I am like, you love what you do. Don't tell my producers this, but you love what you do when you would do it for free. It is truly such a thrill. It's terrifying because I don't want to mess it up, and I want everyone to have the greatest time, and I want to live up to what beautiful Elizabeth Stanley made before me and what Alanis made before her. I don't want to disappoint people, so I put a lot of pressure on myself. But it is truly like, it is, so far the thrill of my whole career.
And for the first time in your career, you also get the last bow in a Broadway show, which is that still, having done the run for a little while now, a pinch me moment for you?
For sure. It is, it's one of those things that I, when I was a kid and I was dreaming the Broadway dream, I think maybe when you're a kid, you're a little bit, you do let yourself, run away with that dream. But as I got older and the dream became a reality, and I saw what Broadway was, and I knew who I was as an actor and what kinds of roles I was getting cast in, I didn't really think that this would be my story. And even though I have had the last bow experience in shows out of town, I've never done it in town. Right. And it is, I don't know. I still I literally get choked up when I think about it, because it is more than I could have dreamt. I feel very humbled by it. I wish I could switch places with every single human being so that they could feel what that feels like, because it is, I know I've said privilege a lot in this interview, but it feels like that. It feels like, I've worked hard in my career. I have worked very hard, but that moment feels, it's overwhelmingly gratifying, and it is bigger than me. And it takes a whole village of people to get us to that moment. But it is so sweet, and I'm forever grateful for it.
Well, we are privileged to see you back on Broadway. I am one of your biggest fans. I was fortunate to see the show last week. You are absolutely brilliant. I cannot wait for people to see you and Elizabeth when she comes back, because she is also brilliant in the show. But Heidi, thank you so much for joining iHeartRadio Broadway today.
Thank you, SJ. Have a great day.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.